Welcome to the video. Today we're looking at the 1.7.1 test server where the double barrel tanks have been introduced. Now on the screen here now for the next like 10-15 seconds I'm just going to be showing you the details for how much XP it's going to cost to unlock the different vehicles so you can get prepared on the live server now. I believe it was about 50,000 XP that you would need on the KV3 in order to unlock the IS-22. And the reason I'm calling it the IS-22 is because calling it the IS-22 feels dumb. Also same with the IS-32 feels dumb. So I'm calling them the IS-22 and the IS-32 respectively because it feels less awkward. So something interesting just to run over the quick details of these vehicles. Something interesting about the IS-22 is it starts off with twin 85mm guns, which is something I didn't expect, but it's actually not too bad considering it actually has 212 pen. Now, whenever I saw 85mm guns on this thing, before I even looked at the stats for them, I immediately thought, oh god, it's going to be 144 pen, isn't it? That's going to suck. But 212 pen isn't actually too bad. And another thing that surprised me is these 100mm guns have 300 alpha damage. Now, you might be saying, of course it has 300 alpha damage. The tier 10 100mm guns have 320, like why wouldn't this have 300? It's tier 8. By 20 less alpha damage seems to make sense. Well, I was expecting it to have 250 alpha damage to keep it in line with things like the T44. But instead this has 300. I really didn't expect them to go that direction with these guns. And DPM on the 100mm in comparison to the 85, like the 100mm definitely has the advantage when it comes to DPM. But I genuinely think that you could catch people out with these 85s. These 85s, like 5.27 second reload. Now, the one thing I do need to mention in regards to these double barrel vehicles, none of them can use gun rammers, which I think is a good idea because I can just imagine how much chaos these things would cause if you got like a 10% faster reload than this. So it's a good thing in my opinion that that's the case, but you do need to be very aware of that fact. Like, the reloads aren't going to get that much better unless you're using like vents, broilers and arms and consumables of some sort to improve the reloads. That's the only way they're going to get faster because the gun rammer will not speed it up for you. And this is just a quick look at the stats for the vehicle. Just so you can see here. It does seem to be fairly good overall. And one thing that genuinely surprised me with this line is like I expected this thing in particular to have like 5 degrees of gun depression. But no. Like, the worst gun depression you get in this line is 7 degrees. And when I say this line, I'm referring to the IS-22 and up. Like, this thing here has 8 degrees of gun depression. But one thing that does actually kind of surprise me is the alpha damage of this gun. Or, well, of these guns, I think I should say. It only has 390. I genuinely expected this thing to have the same guns as, like, I don't know, like the T10 or the ST2. But no, it's actually got pretty much the same alpha damage technically as the tier 8 premium, which I think was an interesting choice. I'll say that much. So it has 1800 health, mobility doesn't seem to be too bad, by 14 horsepower per ton. It does seem to be a fairly reasonable vehicle for the most part. And another thing I do need to mention about these vehicles is they do seem to have very slow turret traverses, and this is especially true in the form of the ST2. I mean, look at how bad that turret traverse is. 17 degrees a second. That is abysmally bad. But just so you can see this thing being compared to the IS-4, and actually, you know what, I'll add the E100 into this as well, just because, like, I'm not sure why, but in my mind, the IS-4 and the E100 are the two vehicles this thing needs to be compared to. Not entirely sure why my opinion is that, but I genuinely think that these two are the main vehicles that this thing has to be sort of compared against. So I'll quickly just set this thing up in the way I would set it up. And let's just see the differences in the stats for these tanks. So when it comes to the ST2, it has the same penetration as the IS-4. It has the best gun depression of these three. It has, in total, whenever you fire off a double shot, 880 damage for the salvo, I guess you would call it. It has 10.7 second reload between each shot, which is slower than the IS-4 and it's faster than the E100, but considering when you fire off a dual shot, it means that you're going to have, I think it's a 3-second delay. When you fire off a double shot, it's going to take about 24.5 seconds to fully reload the guns again after you fire off a double. So you do need to keep that in mind whenever you're using this tank. Now, aiming time wise, the reason why the ST2 has the best aiming time is because it can't use a gun rammer, therefore I put gun lane drive on it to just improve the gun handling because it makes sense to do that. Accuracy wise, same accuracy as the E100, slightly worse accuracy than the IS4. It has the worst DPM of the three, but it does have the most versatility, like in terms of the best gun depression, as well as the ability to divide up the damage between different vehicles. Also has the best turret armor, technically, but we do need to wait to see what the actual armor of this thing's turret is like, because we don't have an armor model for this thing yet, so whenever we get that, I will do a video on it, just showing you what the weak points and stuff are, to see what, like, sort of chinks in its armor I can find, because when it comes to a vehicle like this here, with the amount of firepower this thing has, there's no way they can give it just overwhelmingly good armor. That just seems like a terrible idea. I don't think they would do that. So mobility wise, it's pretty much a middle of the road tank in regards to these tanks. Actually, no, I would say it's about even with the IS4, but nowhere near as slow as the E100. The E100 is just so slow in comparison to these vehicles that it honestly feels kind of weird, like how slow the E100 technically is according to the stats. And when it comes to the concealment, it's got exactly the same concealment as the IS4, which I found interesting because I genuinely thought that this thing seemed a lot bigger than the IS4, but in the one game I played in this thing so far, where I was just basically screwing around with it just to see what it felt like, this thing is considerably smaller in terms of overall volume than something like a Super Conqueror. So I find that to be very interesting, but I will warn you in advance, this is not going to be a very good showcase of this thing's armor. Like this, like I'm going to try a live game to see how it goes, but because this is the test server, there's more gold fired on the test server than there is even on the live server. Now the live server is already bad for gold. In the test server, people fire nothing but gold. So you need to be very aware of that there, and your expectations might be a bit let down in terms of like how well this goes or how well the armor performs, just because, well, like the armor probably isn't going to hold up that well against gold rounds, because gold rounds are just absolutely insane for how much damage that they do, or not damage that they do, how consistently they're able to do damage to heavily armored vehicles. So let's jump into the game here and see how it goes. This is attempt number 3 of recording this video, because unfortunately, for some reason, whenever I'm recording the test server, it comes up probably around about 3 times louder than the normal live server. I have no idea why that happens, but the test server, I was listening back to the recording that I just made, and I could barely hear what I was saying over the sounds of the tank even just moving and the firepower, or well, not firepower, but the noises of the guns firing. It's absurdly loud on the test server in comparison to normal. I have since lowered the volume of the game in Windows as well as the game master volume as well, just because it should still be audible, but hopefully won't be as atrociously loud as it was before. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing, because my previous game actually went fairly well. I was able to actually show that the armor does kind of work, but well, I haven't really had a chance to really do that since, just because my my luck has not been the greatest, because most of the people I've been coming across either just YOLO you and just kill you practically instantly, or they just fire gold into your upper front plate armor and just go straight through you. Now I do get the impression off of this tank that the armor is fairly good. Like, it does seem to be able to side scrape, as an example, fairly well. It's just that the one thing I do wonder is, I wonder how good the cupola is on this thing. Because part of me wonders, like, well, not part of me wonders, I really do wonder how tough it's going to be against tier 10 standard rounds, because it's very hard to judge. And one thing I will say, I would never recommend trying to fire off a double shot into that cupola. Because if you did try to do that, then chances of you hitting the right area are practically nil, because the shape of the cupola, I can just like the width of it and the way it's like curved, means it's practically set up to avoid getting pinned by a double shot unless it's at point blank range, and even at point blank range I think it could miss. So let's rush up this hill, and yep, me and that guy are about to collide. And let's see what we can do here. So there are a lot of tanks coming this direction, which is nice. We have got 2 Super Conquerors and an Object 277. They have more ST2s and 1 Super Conqueror, as well as a T95 Chieftain. Of course they have a T95 Chieftain. I hate those things. But let's see what we're able to do in this game. So I'm probably going to try and position myself in a way that allows me to... Oh, can I get a shot at this guy? Wow, I hit him but didn't pin him. Because, you know, wheeled vehicles. Not annoying at all. Part of me does like the wheeled vehicles just because they're kind of troll and annoying. Part of me is just like, could you stop? And yeah, I don't really mind taking a few hits here as I'm going across, because I want to get across here into a better position, in my opinion. Because sitting back there, it just gets really crowded and sort of awkward to fight. So hopefully the Super Conqueror is careful and doesn't get himself killed. Because I'm intending to try and reverse side script a little bit here. I will apologize here as well, like the lag might mean I do some things which I'm not intending to do. I over-angled there a little bit just because I was desperate to get the double shot off. But that's the damage out into that guy there now, which should remove a bit of his bravery. Also, you can just hear the double shots firing off. It is a really good noise that they made for that, because it really gets across like the power of the guns firing. I mean, this guy here is not even paying attention. And they can do 1,000 damage in a double shot. You just have to roll well with both shots, which is a little inconsistent, I think it's fair to say, because well, you need both shots to roll high in order to do that. You need to roll about 15% higher on both shots in order to get the damage that you need in order to do that amount of damage. And let's remove that Progito. That's him out of the fight. I had been pretty much just firing double shots at this point, just because I've not really had any reason to fire anything else. I don't think there's anybody else alive over there. Like the Super Conqueror and the ST2 both died. Therefore I don't really have to be concerned about anybody else coming around to my side without me expecting them. But I would like to get a double shot into this guy here if I possibly can. Nice, and that's the FV removed. Those things are really annoying, so it's always nice to get rid of those things if you possibly can. And I do realise I haven't used the armor at all here. I've just been taking hits and basically just trading shots really well. That's all I've really been doing here, but sometimes that's going to happen because tier 10 games, when most people are firing gold, I mean, look at my shit, I was about to say shit list here, but my shot list, it really does show that like most people do fire just gold. Progito was the only one. I feel like he probably would have been loading gold if he had remembered, but yeah, or he could be like me and just firing standard rounds because screw premium rounds. But that's that game over. Didn't use the armor at all, but it really does show the potency of this thing when it's trading shots. When this thing's trading shot for shot, or well, double shot for shot, it is very, very hard to compete against, because even an E100 is going to lose to a shot for shot, like basically hit for hit fight with this thing whenever it's firing double shots, if you don't get close to it and stop it from reloading both guns and just doing a double shot again, then it's absolutely devastating to fight this thing.